Hello, basketball people, we have news. Let's go to more news about the Golden State Warriors. I ask you to give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, as I am a Warriors fan. The Warriors have been searching for new veteran big men to occupy their slot of need this summer. Memphis Grizzlies' Jock Landale might be the perfect fill-in for the Dubs. Landale is a 4-year veteran in the league. The St. Mary's product is a strong three-point shooter. Landale shot 42.3% from 3 in 2024-25. A great player in the pick and roll, he can make Stephen Curry's life easier, positioning the Davidson product to connect on his threes with ease. Landale can also make plays for slashers, making a beeline for the rim. Should Warriors look at Landale for mid-season trade? The 29-year-old is under contract for $2.46 million in 2025-26. Landale will be in the final year of his deal. Golden State is looking for Tracy Jackson-Davis to have a big season in 2025-26. The Warriors could look to move Brandon Podziemski or one of their other young players for Landale. Bringing in the five-man can also serve as a money-saving measure. Should he have an impactful campaign, Golden State can keep him for a new deal at around his same annual value. Landale would be better for Warriors head coach Steve Kerr to call for minutes to supplement behind his main centers. It's not even training camp and Steve Kerr has a decision he'll absolutely hate. Steve Kerr's relationship with Jonathan Kuminga has been a talking point for years and remains so as the Golden State Warriors remain in contract negotiations with the young forward and his camp. It's quite clear that Kerr doesn't wholly value Kuminga in terms of the style he wants to implement as a coach, but he may have to park that to one side in considering a bold lineup choice even before training camp and preseason begins. Steve Kerr may have to consider starting Jonathan Kuminga over Draymond Green. Kerr admitted following Golden State's playoff elimination that if Kuminga is back, he would spend the start of the season trying to incorporate the 22-year-old into various lineup combinations. Part of that may require the step of starting Kuminga over veteran forward Draymond Green, something that Kerr is going to absolute hate but one that makes logical sense for a number of reasons. Green of course did come off the bench twice last season, including in a game against the Minnesota Timberwolves after Kuminga had scored 33 points 2 nights before. The experiment was short-lived and unsurprisingly so given Kerr's faith in Green in comparison to his younger teammate. That's what is going to make this such a wrestle for Kerr before, during, and after training camp, assuming Kuminga signs a new deal and enters with the necessary level of motivation. The former 7th overall pick wants a solidified role and ideally as a starter, something that becomes far more viable with the experience, IQ, and floor spacing of Al Horford next to him at center. Starting Kuminga would be extending an olive branch to him, letting him know that he's valued and a big part of the team. Perhaps just as importantly, it might be the best way to conserve Green throughout a long regular season. The 35-year-old has a lot of miles on the body, particularly recently where he was asked to be the starting center over the second half of last season. Kerr and the Warriors should be looking to reduce his workload and his minutes this season, perhaps best executed by bringing him off the bench in a similar vein to Andre Iguodala a decade ago. Green could still play 25 to 28 minutes in close games, but it might also allow him to enter the postseason more refreshed and in better shape than he did last season. It's not going to be an easy decision for Kerr to arrive at, yet one that could push the Warriors to a new level in their hopes of a championship in 2026. Warriors expected to target 2 NBA superstars at trade deadline. At last season's NBA trade deadline, the Golden State Warriors made it clear that they wanted to add some star power. After Kevin Durant turned down a trade to return to Golden State, the franchise shifted its focus to 6-time All-Star Jimmy Butler. The Warriors ultimately acquired Butler to build a star trio of him alongside Steph Curry and Draymond Green, and the new-look Warriors looked to be building something special until the future Hall of Fame point guard went down with an injury in the second round of the playoffs. Now, the Warriors are gearing up for the 2025-26 season, but could have a similar mindset at next year's trade deadline. Warriors 2026 trade deadline plans. The Warriors had a poor start to their 2024-25 season, which led to them feeling some pressure to make a big splash at the trade deadline. It would be a huge disappointment if the Warriors had a similar start to their 2025-26 campaign, but if they still feel like they are one piece away from title contention, we could see another busy trade deadline. Clutch Point's Brett Siegel recently brought up NBA superstars LeBron James and Giannis Antetokounmpo as trade targets for the Warriors if they are able to re-sign Jonathan Kuminga on a tradable contract. This idea of the Warriors wanting to trade Kuminga after bringing him back on a new deal has been prevalent and has continued to lead to speculation of who the franchise would target. Having Kuminga on a cap figure north of $20 million is highly advantageous to the organization, and it gives the Dubs plenty of options to explore before the trade deadline, Siegel wrote. Giannis Antetokounmpo and LeBron James are obviously the Warriors' two dream targets, yet other names have been reported as well. The Warriors targeting a superstar of this caliber would not be much of a surprise, as Golden State's front office seems to always be looking for extra star power, but it would undoubtedly send the NBA into a frenzy to see Steph Curry get one of them as a teammate. Los Angeles Lakers forward LeBron James already has an uncertain future with the franchise, so him requesting a trade during the 2025-26 season would not be too shocking. If James were to request a trade, the Warriors would be an expected top destination for him. There have also been some questions around Giannis Antetokounmpo's future with the Milwaukee Bucks, and how committed he is to the franchise that has seen minimal success since their 2021 championship. Either of the superstars would create an ultimate duo alongside Curry, and likely take the Warriors back into title contention. Warriors are setting up a play for Giannis Antetokounmpo or LeBron James. During his report on Kuminga last week, Brett Siegel of Clutch Points identified both Antetokounmpo and James as the two dream targets that Golden State could chase, using Kuminga as an asset in any potential trade. This idea of the Warriors wanting to trade Kuminga after bringing him back on a new deal has been prevalent and has continued to lead to speculation of who the franchise would target, Siegel wrote. Giannis Antetokounmpo and LeBron James are obviously the Warriors' two dream targets, yet other names have been reported as well. The problem for the Warriors is that even if Kuminga does eventually agree on a contract between $20 to $25 million per year, putting him in a trade gets them less than halfway to the over $50 million that each of Antetokounmpo and James make. If one of them were to become available and Golden State had an offer that included Kuminga, it would almost definitely have to include franchise legend Draymond Green as well. The Warriors would also have the likes of Buddy Hield and Moses Moody, who equate to just under $20 million combined. Let's for a second assume that Golden State could make a deal work for whichever player. Then they'd be left with three players making over $50 million each. When has that sort of roster construction ever worked in recent years? With the restrictive nature of the first and second tax aprons, teams aren't or shouldn't be willing to put themselves in such a position. Those that have, Phoenix Suns, have seen it backfire terribly, while a team like the Boston Celtics has torn it down once their payroll became too exorbitant and Jason Tatum went down with injury. Having three players making over $50 million would lead the Warriors into disaster. Perhaps they'd pray that James takes a pay cut next offseason as a free agent, but what if he just leaves to a new team after a few months? Then you've just given up Kuminga, Green etc. for a short-term rental. The fact is that if Golden State want to trade for James or Antetokounmpo, then it's got nothing to do with Kuminga and far more to do with whether they're willing to relinquish Jimmy Butler. As for Kuminga, the Warriors should narrow their scope to players making less than $35 million once he becomes trade eligible. It's not even training camp, but Warriors already have a Moses Moody problem. Golden State needs to be able to rely on Moody night in and night out. We're now less than 1 month away from the Golden State Warriors' upcoming season. When the season tips off, Steve Kerr and his coaching staff are going to need to be able to rely on Moses Moody as a reliable rotation player. We've certainly already seen Moses make quite a bit of progress in his development over the last couple of years. Last season, he played a career-high 22.3 minutes per night and nearly averaged double figures in scoring for the first time in his career. And yet, there remain some concerns about his reliability on a team that has so much pressure weighing on its shoulders in the midst of what would appear to be the final days of Stephen Curry's career. There are some among the Warriors fanbase that would like to see him in an even bigger role this coming year, while others remain more skeptical of his continued progression. Among the biggest concerns when talking about Moody's game would have to issues in confidence, times of passivity offensively, and a limited ability to create his own shot. These are the main reasons Warriors fans have doubt in Moses being a true ceiling raiser for the Warriors this coming season. It's fair to say Moody is going to have to improve in these areas if he's going to earn the complete trust of Kerr and the staff. We know that during his tenure as Warriors head coach, Steve Kerr has routinely favored players who demonstrate a high basketball IQ, who can make quick decisions that impact winning and do more than just score the basketball. Moses Moody must continue his progression. Moody has had flashes of performing well in all these areas, but his inconsistency and lack of ability to generate his own high-level looks remain reasons for skepticism. This whole topic is an issue of whether he can consistently up his level of play enough to be a true needle mover for a Golden State squad competing for a top playoff seed and a championship. If Moses doesn't earn some consistent minutes early in the season, there's going to be a risk of stagnation. Falling a little bit further down Kerr's pecking order than expected in October would have the potential for this situation to get messier than it needs to be. Overall, Moody can avoid potential hiccups and further questions about his role by coming into camp healthy. If he shows up and consistently performs in scrimmages and preseason games, he'll have a chance to silence these conversations. What will that look like for him? I would say probably taking on tough assignments and being versatile defensively, while showing an overall mental toughness and being decisive offensively, pushing to expand shot creation on occasion. There's a world where Moses shows up in a big way early and becomes a real factor for this team in the coming season. He's just going to have to show up early and often on such a veteran-laden roster. Jonathan Kuminga's agent sends message on future with Warriors. Jonathan Kuminga and his future with the Golden State Warriors is clouded, and his agent Aaron Turner isn't hiding the uncertainty. Turner confirmed that his client is considering taking the qualifying offer and walking into unrestricted free agency next summer. He wants to pick where he wants to go. So the QO is real for sure, Turner said appearing on ESPN's The Hoop Collective podcast. Golden State has already presented multiple contract offers to Kuminga. One deal was a 3-year, $75.2 million contract with a team option in the final season. Another was 2 years, $45 million, but structured with a team option in year 2 and without a no-trade clause. The third was a 3-year, $54 million offer that Turner felt undervalued his client. The issue, Turner emphasized, is control. If JK wants to take the qualifying offer, it does have upside, right? We've talked about that. You're not getting traded. You're going to have unrestricted free agency, Turner explained. People are going to say, well, Aaron, there's not going to be 10 or 12 teams with cap space. Fine, there'll be 6 teams with cap space for the clear-cut under 35 top wing on the market. So there's a lot of upside. The Warriors, still focused on chasing wins with Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green in the front court, have struggled to define Kuminga's role. Head coach Steve Kerr has never fully leaned on him and has made it very clear Kuminga doesn't fit in terms of the style he wants to implement as a coach. Trade talks with Sacramento and Phoenix earlier this summer reportedly stalled. With an October 1st deadline looming, either Golden State and Kuminga reach a compromise deal, or the forward accepts the qualifying offer and positions himself for a fresh start elsewhere. Stephen Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green all agree on Jonathan Kuminga's future. Last season, the Golden State Warriors brought in Jimmy Butler at the trade deadline in hopes of sparking a late playoff run. The team posted a 23-8 record after Butler joined, but it was not enough to avoid the play-in tournament. Golden State got past Memphis to claim the 7th seed in the West, then knocked out Houston in an opening round upset. But their run ended against Minnesota. Stephen Curry injured his hamstring early in that series, and the Timberwolves advanced. Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, and Jimmy Butler want the Golden State Warriors to get a deal done with Jonathan Kuminga. Jonathan Kuminga filled the gap in the second round while Curry was sidelined, putting up 20.8 points, 3.0 rebounds, and 1.2 assists per game across the series, including a standout 30-point performance in Game 3. But even with those efforts, it was not enough for Golden State to progress. Kuminga is now deep into contract talks with Golden State, with his place on the team still not finalized. But Brett Siegel of Clutch Points reports that there's support within the team for keeping him around. He wrote, "Over the last few weeks, the Warriors veterans, Curry, Green, and Butler, have all communicated with the Dubs Brain Trust to get a deal done," sources said. All three stars want Kuminga back on the roster, as his athleticism, durability, and production can't be replicated. If lost, Kuminga's void will be felt throughout the 82-game season. Jonathan Kuminga's potential remains high for the Golden State Warriors. Kuminga's role under head coach Steve Kerr is still a work in progress. He has not been given a clear spot in the rotation, and his stats have been up and down as a result. Even so, the 22-year-old has proven he can step up when needed. He dropped 30 points against the Timberwolves in the playoffs and scored back-to-back career highs of 34 points against the Clippers and Suns last season. Over 47 games, Kuminga averaged 15.3 points, 4.6 rebounds, and 2.2 assists while playing just over 24 minutes per game. With more time on the court, those numbers could easily climb. If Golden State decide to move on from Kuminga, it is a decision they could end up second-guessing down the line.